Hey everyone, it's Marc for Spirit Hive with another short video in our relationship month of September range. I want to touch on a subject that Jen and I actually discussed last Sunday on the live Hive, which is that whole idea of experiential ownership, owning your own stuff. So I know always questions come up, and I've had a couple of questions come up. Well, actually more statements quite often of people that say, look, you can't just say that. No one can make me feel or do anything. Yeah, when this person did this really bad thing to me, of course I felt bad. Yeah, and I get that question, especially when you look at it in the context of trauma, for instance. Sure, I get it. Things are being done to you didn't ask for, that you've interpreted as traumatic. So I get it when people say, like, well, that was done to me. I didn't ask for that. I didn't want that. And I totally get that. So don't understand me wrong. Hey? It's not saying like, it's all your responsibility. That's never the aim of the game. But when you look at it neurobiologically and neuroscientifically, there's actually a little bit of a truth in that whole idea that no one can make you feel anything other than you. So your emotions are your own. And I'll explain that really quick and put it into context. So when you look at the way you feel, let's start at the beginning. Something happens. Something happens. You observe that through your senses. It's being done to you. Your eyes are seeing it, your ears are hearing it, your nose is smelling it, etc. Now, you have a bunch of ideas about life already, because we all do. We have ideas about life. Now, those ideas in relation to what is happening will produce particular responses in your body, physiological responses. They will create a particular body sensation based on chemicals that are flooding your system. Adrenaline, cortisol, on the good side, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin. And those things, those body sensations in combination with what we're thinking about it, whether that's conscious or unconscious, based on that situation that we are experiencing, we label a particular way. So say that I am planning a holiday, something really simple. So here I am, the fact I'm sitting at the travel agent, going through a couple of brochures and looking at potential destinations. Now, my eyes are seeing that, my ears are hearing that, etc., etc. I have ideas about going on holidays. I really like it. I love travel. Love to travel with the family. Have loads of fun doing so. Now, that releases a bunch of chemicals in my system. In this case, good ones. Serotonin, dopamine, endorphins. I feel good. Now, I might say, based on all that, I am excited, or I am happy, or whatever it is that I want to say, what I want to label that as. Now, that's a label that I stick on it, and it also goes for negative situations. So if we are in a conversation with someone, because we're talking relationships here, right? So if I am in a relationship with someone, work colleague, intimate relationship, friend, stranger that I meet on the street, and now I have a relationship with them, a conversational relationship. If that person says something to me or does something to me, good or bad, doesn't matter. My senses take that in. My brain processes that through the programming in my head, my ideas about life, my ideas about how people should treat each other, my ideas about how I want to be treated, my ideas about how I think others should be treated, etc., etc. The stuff that my parents taught me, that my teachers taught me, you name it. All that stuff makes me look at that situation where this person says or does something to me in a particular way. Now, that releases a chemical response in our body. That's just a neurobiological fact. It does so. The combination of all that, I might call, I feel disappointed, or I feel threatened, or I feel rejected, or I feel, whatever it is, not confident, or I feel angry, I'm impatient, whatever it is. So it's that whole combination of stuff based on what's happening that we label a particular way. Now, that's where the neurobiological truth sets in, because no one can make you feel that particular way. And that is so important in interpersonal relationships to realize, because often we point fingers at someone and say, well, you made me feel that way, or, oh, that person got me so angry, or whatever that person did that pissed me off so badly, that now this, that, and the other. Now, that is just not neurobiologically true. You did that to yourself. That's not a bad thing. That's just a neurobiological fact. Our system, our brains process that, our bodies do some stuff with that, and we give that a particular label, good or bad. Once you realize that that is what starts to happen, or what is happening in our body, we can start to take a little step back from what actually people are doing to us or saying to us. It might still be, we might all agree it's a really bad thing. We might all agree that this should not happen. But the empowering thing in interpersonal relationship lies when you realize that no matter what this person has said or done, we can choose how we deal with that. So we can choose to feel whatever emotions, whatever body sensations our body produce based on what we're experiencing and how we label that. We can choose to do something with that. We can take that to an extreme and go on a rampage and try to take revenge, or to vilify someone, or to make someone wrong, or to get whatever we think is just, to get justice. Or we can start to take a compassionate step back and go like, whoa, hang on. If I'm doing that, processing things through my own brain and my own body, the other person is doing that too, then potentially you are just caught up in this reactive mode where we're both bouncing off each other, and neither of us is necessarily right or wrong, but we're just going about it the wrong way because we let the way our bodies and our brains process this dictate what we're going to do next. So a good way to deal with interpersonal relationship stuff, let's call it stuff, a good way to deal with interpersonal relationship stuff is to step back. So say you're in a conversation with a manager or a boss person or someone who has some level of authority, and you feel you're being attacked. Whether that's right or wrong, it actually doesn't really matter. But say that you feel you're under attack for lack of performance or lack of perceived performance or for other reasons. Now, if you can take a step back, actually allow yourself to feel the physical sensations that will absolutely be rushing through your body, that you feel a particular way, that you label, I'm under attack. Now we can step back and say, okay, what would be the appropriate response in this context? Would it be appropriate to walk away? Would it be appropriate to say something back? Would it be appropriate to defend my position? Would it be appropriate to cry or to get angry or whatever? But what would make the biggest positive difference, the biggest effective difference in how I'm going to respond to this person? And not let your very first instinct or very first impulse drive that. Because very often when our fight-flight brain gets involved, sits behind your eyes, between your ears, and it feels your body doing stuff, it wants to fight or run away. And that might not always be the most effective response in a particular situation. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, your heart is racing, your heart is pounding in your throat maybe, you can feel your palms go a bit sweaty, you feel your face go a bit hot because you feel under attack, remember? You get this tummy rumble like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Take a step back, take a really deep breath, realize that your brain and your body are now coordinating this response in you, not what that boss person or authority person says or does. It's the reaction to what this person says or does. And then realize what could be the most effective response to this situation. I absolutely realize that is sometimes tough in the moment when you have to make a decision, but the more we learn to step back on ourselves in relationships with others or in conversations with others, when we are finding ourselves experiencing a negative emotion, as we would call it, the more you can step back, the more you will start to feel self-empowered, so you can choose the most effective response in that particular situation. So we don't fly off the handle, we don't get angry, we don't start pointing fingers like, well, you shouldn't be saying that to me. No, step back. What's the most important thing that's the most effective that you can say right now and do right now? And sometimes that can actually be walking away. It could be saying something back. But take a couple of seconds after taking a long breath or a long deep breath. Take a couple of seconds to contemplate that before you let your primal instinct between your ears, behind your eyes, dictate what's going to come out of your mouth or what your muscles are going to do next. So there's a fair chance that if you let those decide, whatever your crocodile fight-flight brain wants, doesn't always pan out the right way, not in our 21st century society. So have a think about that. Neurobiologically, we are responsible for every emotion we feel because that's just how our neurobiological system works, not what someone else says or does. The way we interpret what someone else says or does and the way we reply to what someone else says or does in that relationship is totally up to us. That's a learned skill. It doesn't mean you'll never have to get angry anymore, because anger could be a really good response in that particular situation. But make sure you take a second or two before you blurt out what all fibers in your being urge you to blurt out, because that very first impulse might not be the right way. So have a couple of seconds of thought, then say or do something, and you'll be surprised in how far you can actually start managing your own responses and your own emotions that way, which is a very empowering principle. So if you've got questions on that, fire away. You know where to find us, through Spirit Hive, through me personally, Marc de Bruin. Find me on the internet. I'll be somewhere, and look forward to having a discussion with you. Enjoy your day.